It's time to get your news on. We are VK1WIA.
Yes, the news it is. The WIA National News for week commencing May 21, 2023. And this week, WIA Secretary Peter VK8ZZ and WIA Amateur Radio Magazine Editor-in-Chief Roger VK2ZRH join us. Plus much more in this edition of News from the Wireless Institute of Australia. I'm Editor Graham VK4BB. Last week, we told you of the order we received to change our WIAQ domain name. Quick work by WIA Secretary and work done the morning prior to our AGM has resulted in a letter which, in short, says, "Hey Peter, we've heard back from AUDA and we are happy to report they've closed this case, and as such, we can mark this as resolved and no further action is required." So our backup site for WIA National News and also the site for the VK4 region Q News will remain as wiaq.org.au.
Across Australia from VK1WIA, you are tuned to the WIA National News Service. In Melbourne, it can be heard on the 160-metre amateur radio band on 1.825 MHz AM at 9 o'clock Sunday morning. I'm Clint Jeffrey, VK3CSJ.
Now, the man we've just spoken about, WIA Secretary and Director Peter VK8ZZ.
Thanks, Graham, and good morning, listeners. Well, I would like to thank the well over 100 who participated in our annual general meeting last weekend. The meeting was a hybrid event and included both members on site at the University of Canberra and online. We also had a large number of viewers watching the internet streaming on the WIA YouTube channel. The draft minutes of the meeting and the video will be available on the WIA website within the next month or so. The President thanked outgoing Director Greg VK2GPK for his contribution during his 6 years as a member of the board of the WIA. The quality of the broadband connection at the university meant a flawless streaming of the event to all those attending online. Members who were attending in person in Canberra had the opportunity to network with others attending, as well as meeting our newest member of the WIA board, Giles Kirby, VK5GK, as well as President Scott Williams, VK3KJ, Stephen Green, VK2TSG, myself, Peter Clee, VK8ZZ, and the outgoing Director, Greg Kelly, VK2GPK. I very much enjoyed catching up with some I had not seen in a while, as well as meeting new amateurs on the day. We will upload a number of the photographs of the event as well as publish them in a future edition of the Amateur Radio Magazine for all to view. I would personally like to thank those who attended the AGM, both in person and online, and thank you for making this AGM a most memorable event. I advise that we are currently looking for a club that would be keen to host the 2024 AGM and possibly hold it in conjunction with a field day or convention. A big congratulations to all of the recipients of the WIA Merit Awards. I would encourage listeners to nominate for the 2024 WIA Merit Awards, as nominations are now open. This has been WIA Director and Company Secretary Peter VK8ZZ.
This is Roger Harrison, VK2ZRH, Editor-in-Chief of Amateur Radio Magazine. Last Monday, the files for issue number 3 of our magazine were uploaded to the printer's server in Bairnsdale, Victoria. From late next week, look out for it landing in your letterbox, your post office box, or your local news agency. The theme for the issue is Test and Measurement, featuring an article on the subject of Your First Test Bench by popular author Andy Keir, VK2AAK, one for those who are new to ham radio. As part of this theme, we explore a subject close to pretty much every ham's heart, repairing things. This brings up the issue of the right to repair. If you buy a product, any product, from a car to a toaster, from a PC to a transceiver, why can't you fix it if you want to? One of our articles on this subject discusses the concept of a right to repair in Australia, which would enable consumers to repair their own products, either themselves or through a third-party repairer, and require manufacturers to provide access to repair manuals, diagnostic tools, and software logs. The article explores the issues from a manufacturer's perspective, including concerns about intellectual property, product safety, warranty rights, the cost of new products, and the feasibility of repairing certain products. The article notes the benefits of sustainability in extending the lifespan of products and reducing waste, but questions whether enforcing a right to repair would make a real difference or simply increase the cost of new products for no real benefit. Those last two paragraphs were written by the latest tech craze, ChatGPT, with minor edits. I have to ask myself, how long before I muscled out of my job by a chatbot? That was my real voice, by the way. No, it's true. Dudes, it is me. Enough. To reflect topical matters in both the radio amateur community and also society in general right now, I asked Phil Waite, VK2ASD, to look into artificial intelligence, AI, in amateur radio. There will be some among the clickerati on social media who reckon the term applies to many contacts you hear on the air. Yeah, right. Phil's efforts returned some interesting results, posing more questions than the answers he got after asking questions of ChatGPT. Some say AI suggests machines learning to mimic human intelligence processes by applying algorithms to large accumulations of data, ostensibly making computers think and act like humans. In amateur radio in the near future, how will you know that the on-air voice contact you are having is with a human and not an AI program? The same goes for digital and video contacts. Seriously, when more than 1,000 US captains of commerce, science and industry write to the President asking the Congress to regulate the development and use of artificial intelligence, you know there's a serious issue with it. No sooner had we committed to content on the subject than Google launched its rival chatbot, Bard. Okay. For those that crave the smell of solar smoke in the mornings, we have a 13.6 volt 30 amp power supply for all occasions from Lou to Stefano, VK3AQZ. And, talking about the right to repair, we also have the last article from Phil Fitzherbert, VK3FF's journey in restoring his classic Collins S-line rigs. We live in interesting times. This year, some significant amateur radio clubs reached the ton. That's right, 100 years. So, this issue you can get the skinny on who did what with which and to whom in VK7 and VK2. When the technology was new, wireless experimenters were cool. Shortwave wireless was the TikTok of the day. Not only that, 100 years ago, Australian wireless experimenters caused a sensation when their signals crossed the Pacific Ocean. There were those that said it couldn't be done. While American and European experimenters had successfully spanned the 3,000-kilometre wide Atlantic in 1921, the Pacific Ocean, triple the distance between Australia and America's west coast, was judged a bridge too far. WIA historian Peter Wolfenden, VK3RV, gives us the skinny on who did what with which and with whom. Part 1 begins this issue. That'll be it for this week. More to come later. Amateur Radio Magazine, Volume 91, Issue Number 3 for 2023. Serving Australian radio amateur dudes for 90 years, come hay, hell or booligal. Available in print and online, always published to a schedule, never random or half-heartedly slapped together. That's it from me for now. I'm Roger Harrison, VK2ZRH for VK1WIA News.
From here, there and everywhere, you've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now, international news with VK2LAW Jason.
Hello. International news with thanks to the IARU, RSGB, RAC, ARRL, NZART, Amateur Radio Newsline, EHAM, and the worldwide sources of the WIA. In news from Region 1, International Women in Engineering Day June 23 is brought to you by the Women's Engineering Society, who will celebrate its 10th year in 2023 and once again be promoting the amazing work that women engineers across the globe are doing. This year's theme is Make Safety Seen. INWED gives women engineers around the world a profile when they're still hugely underrepresented, with 2021 figures indicating that in the UK, only 16.5% of engineers are women. Now, with that in mind, the RSGB is asking for help in celebrating International Women in Engineering Day, June 23. They've put out the call for stories to share of women in engineering roles to inspire future generations. DX Adventure Team activated 4 Uniform 100 Quebec Oscar on QO100 from the United Nations Vienna International Centre. May 18, 19 and 20, they made the very first QO100 connections from the United Nations Vienna International Centre, and as a token of appreciation, DX Adventure is donating the equipment they use to make the connections through QO100 to the United Nations for future use. Those dates on HF, you may have also heard them active using 4 Uniform 1 Alpha. In news from Region 2, radio amateurs in Puerto Rico have a day to honour their hobby held this year on Tuesday, May 9. As set out by law in 1996, each year, every second Tuesday of the month of May is known as Puerto Rico Amateur Radio Day. This is part of a larger celebration of National Rodeo Month each May on the island. Amateurs received a special proclamation for the day signed by both Governor and Secretary of State. It recognised the help amateurs have offered in times of emergency. It also highlighted the ARRL Puerto Rico section and the fact that licensees have reached 5,000 as of June last year, 2022. Researchers create thinner, denser computer chips. Researchers in the United States have created thinner, denser computer chips with big possibilities. We learn more from Kent Peterson, Kilo Charlie 0 Delta Golf Yankee, over at Amateur Radio Newsline.
Denser and more powerful computer chips may soon be possible thanks to findings in a laboratory at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Researchers there have developed a means of working with 2D materials, so slender they are no more than 3 atoms thick. By layering them atop a fully fabricated silicon chip, they are able to create a denser integration. According to the MIT News website, this low-temperature growth and fabrication technology does not result in damage to the chip. Damage was a major concern during previous attempts to achieve this integration atop a silicon CMOS wafer because the process customarily requires temperatures of 600 degrees Celsius. Temperatures above 400 degrees Celsius could cause the transistors and circuits to break down. The news website also reported that this technology reduces the growth and integration process on an 8-inch wafer from more than a day to less than an hour. A shortened growth time is seen by researchers as particularly attractive for industrial fabrications because of its efficiency. Researchers also said they want to explore use of this process for such flexible surfaces as textiles, polymers, or papers, raising the prospect of integrating semiconductors into clothing, paper notebooks, and other everyday items. This is Kent Peterson, KC0 DGY.
Thanks, Kent. Now to the weird and wonderful files. Coffee-loving hams work Java, but it's not DX. Okay, grab a cup of hot coffee for this week's weird and wonderful story. Sit back and let's listen to Randy Sly, W4XJ.
For many of us, there's nothing better than working DX or calling CQ in a contest while sipping on a fresh hot cup of coffee. But what if that coffee was known as Ham Shack House Blend, Key Up Cowboy, or Morse Code Mocha? Steve Eilers, W3BIZ, believes we can have our ham radio and drink it too. Early in 2023, Steve began the Homebrew Coffee Company, combining his love for coffee with his love for ham radio. This coffee is not someone else's brand that he relabeled, but his own original coffee blends that are roasted and shipped the same day, no matter the propagation. He is an entrepreneur who takes his business seriously.
We source our beans from Bali, Peru, Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, you name it. Ethically sourced beans, fair trade. That's a huge thing for me, is to make sure that we're doing it right. These people are getting compensated for their farms and everything's fair.
His blends are made to resonate with a variety of tastes, from a donut shop style to a dark Italian roast, or something with a French vanilla or mocha flavor. All these and more await you at homebrewcoffee.com. When he's not making coffee, you can find Steve hunting POTA, chasing DX, rag chewing, or operating Skywarn and Aries in Kent County, Michigan. And of course, drinking coffee. This is Randy Sly, W4XJ.
Thanks, Randy. And with that, Felix in just a moment. For VK1 WIA National News in Sydney, I'm Jason, VK2LAW.
We are VK1 WIA. Now, operational news with VK4 FUQ.
Hello there, and yes, remember ham radio, it's contact sport. Contest-wise, May 2021 Don Edwards Memorial Slow Morse Contest is this weekend, as is the NZART Run 80 metres thanks to Shield. June 24-25 Winter VHF UHF Field Day, 0100 hours UTC Saturday 24 to 0059 hours UTC Sunday 25. But in VK6 had 3 hours on the start and end times. June weekend prior to the second Monday of June, VK Shires. Also make a mental note that the 2023 QRP Day happens June 17. IAA HF World Championship Contest takes place the second full weekend of July, beginning 1200 hours UTC Saturday and ending 1200 hours UTC Sunday, July 8 and 9. All licensed amateurs worldwide are eligible to participate in this contest, as the objective is to contact as many other amateurs as possible, especially IAA member society HQ stations around the world, using the 160, 80, 40, 20, 15 and 10 metre bands. July 15 Trans-Tasman Low Band Contest, held on the third weekend in July, aims to encourage low band activity between VK and ZL. 160, 80 and 40 metres are allowed with SSB, CW and digital, RTTY or PSK. August 12 and 13, Remembrance Day Contest. This contest commemorates the amateurs who died during World War II and is designed to encourage friendly participation and help improve the operating skills of participants. It is held on the weekend closest to the 15th of August, the date on which hostilities ceased with Japan in the Southwest Pacific area. August 26-27, a Lara Contest. Contest is always on the last full weekend of August. YLs work everyone. OMs work YLs only. Combined phone and CW run over 24 hours. Saturday 0600 hours UTC till Sunday 0559 hours UTC. All HF bands except 160 metres and WARC bands. Echo Link will also be accepted. DX window. Richard VK2SKY joins us as we open the DX window with a little vampire story for you.
Yes, I know, Halloween is months away, but I think you'll like this story anyway. A team of amateurs, led by Colin VK2JCC, has set up shop in the radio room aboard HMAS Vampire. HMAS stands for His Majesty's Australian Ship, and the Vampire is located at the Australian National Maritime Museum here in Sydney. The radio room is part of the museum and thus open for visitors to learn about the importance of radio communications both in wartime and in peace. The Vampire team has been active for a few weeks now, using the call sign Victor Kilo 2 Victor Mike Papa. VMP. Vampire, get it? If you've never worked a warship before, now is a great time to start. So far, 8 amateurs are on the roster to keep the Vampire on the air, using CW and sideband on 20 and 40 meters, and the station is now a permanent fixture on the ship. But wait, there's more. Over the weekend of the 3rd and 4th of June, the Vampire will be active for 24 hours for a special event, Museum Ships on the Air. You'll find the station on or near 14.250 megahertz. Vampire will join many other ships around the world for this fun event. So listen out for Victor Kilo 2 Victor Mike Papa on board HMAS Vampire in Sydney, Australia. And check out the VK2 VMP page on QRZ.com. For WIA National News, I'm Richard Mernan, VK2SKY. Back to you, Felix.
Thanks, Richard. And the call to listen out for again, Victor Kilo 2 Victor Mike Papa. Another special call to keep your ears open for is VI 2023 HRH. First, the 31st of May celebrates the coronation of King Charles III. Listen for Giorgio, IU5HWS, using the call sign 5UA99WS. From Niger, until the 15th of June on 40 through 10 metres using FT8 and SSB. QSL via LRTW or via EA5GL. Polynesia. DDR is QRV as FO/F6BCW. From Howardine Island, IOTA OC067. Until October 25 on 86 metres using CW and SSB. QSL via F6EXV. AU40 NRO is active until the 30th of June to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the National Institute of Amateur Radio in India. QSL via VU2 NRO. For VK1WIA National News, I'm Felix, VK4FUQ Inningham.
From here, there and everywhere, you've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now, Special Interest Group News with VK3GTV. Cole.
Hello, our first topic this week is faith. In the US, a group known as the New Jersey Knights of Columbus have taken some advice from the Gospel of Matthew, namely that their light and good deeds should not be hidden under a bushel. Active since early this month and running until today, UTC time, the Knights have been operating several amateur radio stations statewide under a special amateur radio call sign K0C, with the dual intent of sharing their philanthropic needs and encouraging Catholic men to join the fraternal organisation. The special event stations have been attempting to operate out of all 5 dioceses in the state until the last day of the 127th New Jersey State Convention. My hobby is ham radio, and I love the Knights, said Knights Deputy Director Thomas M. Perotti, who designed and spearheaded the project, adding that this is a nice way to bring these two passions together. Worldwide Special Interest Group's Final Frontier. When the crewed Artemis 2 mission makes its lunar flyby in late 2024, we'll be able to see video of the moon like never before. And it's all thanks to lasers. Along for the historic journey to the moon will be the Orion Artemis 2 Optical Communication System, or O2O, making Artemis 2 the first crewed lunar flight to demonstrate laser communications technology. The O2O system will be capable of returning high-resolution images and video of the lunar surface back to Earth with a downlink rate of up to 260 megabits per second. The laser system will also be able to send and receive procedures, flight plans, voice messages, and other communications between the Orion spacecraft and mission control on Earth. With the launch last month of the European Space Agency's JUICE mission, short for Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, hopes were high for its antenna, which had been folded up inside the spacecraft ready for its eventual full deployment. The 16-metre-long antenna, known as RIME for Radar for Icy Moons Exploration, was to completely unfold in its first week after the launch date, and it did, but that is, all but one final part. According to various media accounts, a variety of remedies were tried without success, until the flight control team finally freed the remaining part by delivering a shock that moved a tiny stuck pin that had left the antenna section jammed in its folded position. The shock came via a device known as a non-explosive actuator that was located inside the bracket. What happened was disruptive enough to shake things up. May 12th brought freedom as the stuck part became unstuck. So some good old percussive maintenance. Now the antenna should be ready for an even bigger challenge, the moons around the giant planet Jupiter. The mission will use the antenna to study those icy moons as far down as 9 kilometres, analysing both the surface and subsurface. What unfolds there may possibly deliver some shocks of its own. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Radio Amateur Young Timers, YOTA, Youngsters on the Air. With the latest, it's over to WIA Foundation Award winner, Alec, VK2APC.
Thank you, Cole. Before I go into the news, I would like to thank the WIA board for the Foundation Merit Award and all who support me. This weekend, I have 2 different reports for you. Unfortunately, the Dave Coulter Memorial Youth DX Adventure has been cancelled. The organisers at Dayton Amateur Radio Association said there was insufficient time for the kind of planning needed to allow everyone to obtain their necessary passports. No other details were immediately available, and there was no indication when the next trip would be scheduled. The once annual trip, which has brought young amateurs to the Dutch Caribbean, Costa Rica, and Curaçao, is named in memory of Dave KB8 OCP, who became a silent key in 2013. Now for a better report. Emil, VK5 WWW, first obtained his foundation license in 2022 when he was 9 years old. He has been having a go with learning CW, and on 8th of May, Emil had his first CW contact with Gerard VK2 India Oscar. To top this off, the contact was just before Emil's 11th birthday. Happy birthday and way to go, Emil, and thank you to Gerard for supporting a fellow youth ham operator. I hope you keep practicing, Emil, so you can get faster than your dad and make many more contacts. For VK1 WIA National News, I am Alec, VK2 APC in Sydney. Now back over to you, Cole.
Thanks, Alec, and again, congratulations on your award. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Rescue Radio. Write these frequencies on your shack wall. In IARU Region 3, Emergency Centre of Activity, COA, frequencies are 3.600, 7.110, 14.300, 18.160 and 21.360 MHz. Primarily for its role in rescue radio, the Virginia General Assembly recently issued a resolution commending the Virginia Beach Amateur Radio Club, W4UG. The commendation honoured the VBARC for their many community contributions, stating, "The VBARC, an American Radio Relay League special service club, has greatly served the Virginia Beach community for many years by volunteering its time and equipment for emergency and public services, and by providing exceptional aid to both local amateur radio enthusiasts and the community at large through training classes, technical projects, and other activities." An early marriage and separation from her family kept Rabina Begum apart from her family in Bengal for more than a decade. With the help of police and the West Bengal Radio Club, the relatives have found one another again. The woman's brother, Hussein Ali Sheikh, told the Times of India that in the ensuing years they believed that she was lost to them forever. But he spoke with her at long last on Wednesday, May the 3rd, after the Women's Commission contacted state police, who reached out to the hams in West Bengal. The club has a long track record of facilitating such reunions. Club Secretary Ambarish Nagbigwa, VU2JFA, reached out to a colleague proficient in Hindi and Kashmiri, and details of her story finally emerged. Her brother is expected to travel and bring her home to Bengal soon to be with the family she's missed so much. A great outcome and a nice ending for the segment this week. Till next week, take care. I'm Cole, VK3GTV.
And on the social scene, it's the celebration of the centenary of organised amateur radio in Tasmania all of June, with a special WIA news service from VK7 happening June 18, and there are also a huge number of activities happening throughout the month of June and beyond.
These include operation of the special centenary call sign VK7 WIA by amateurs around VK7. There's a special centenary QSL card, a centenary award certificate. There are amateur radio open days being held around the state of Tasmania with amateur radio historic and working displays that will be open to the public. In the south, it happens on Saturday, June the 10th. In the north, Saturday, June the 17th. And the northwest, Saturday, June the 24th. In the next couple of amateur radio magazines, we will have features on VK7 history, starting in the May-June edition, and the WIA National News broadcast will be coming from VK7 on the 18th of June 2023. There are many more activities happening, and these are available along with more details on the website link on the email edition of this broadcast. And this has been Justin, VK7 Tango Whiskey, for the VK7 Centenary Committee, and this is the WIA National News broadcast.
Thanks, Justin. And in VK2, June 10 and 11, it's the Oxley Region's annual field day at Warhope. And also June 10 and 11, in VK5, the Surg Convention and Fox Hunting Championships. Now, till next we meet, I'm Editor Graham, VK4BB. walk tall.
This has been the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Courtesy of Bevan, VK5 BD's ATV and YouTube channel, this has been WIA National News. We're back now, live and local, and your voice, your callbacks. And don't forget, tick like.
Our sun's been a snoozing for the past couple days, but it looks like not anymore. Big flares are back. Those stories and more in the news this week. If you want to learn how weather from our star causes impacts at the Earth that shape the future of our world, join Professors Dr. Jenny Meehan, Michael Cook, and myself as we guide you through a space weather certificate program like no other. To enroll in the Space Weather and Environment Science program offered at Millersville University, go to millersville.edu/SWEN. It's weather for the 21st century. This forecast also sponsored in part by CW Ops. Our sun has been snoozing over the past couple days, but it looks like it's beginning to wake up. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, we had been watching region 3296 as it rotated to the sun's far side. This was that big flare player from last week, and we're glad to see it go. Since then, there hasn't been all that much on the Earth-facing disk, a couple filament eruptions here and there, but nothing really substantial, except when you look down in the southeast off of the east limb. Over the past couple days, there's been a region that you're beginning to see its activity. In fact, just as it begins to really capture our attention, wham, right there, it fires off a near X-class flare. In fact, this likely was an X-class flare. It's just that it was occulted, meaning that it wasn't completely in view. On Earth's day side, it actually did cause a near R3 level radio blackout for a short while. And this region, believe it or not, we have been expecting it. As we take a look at our JSOC HMI helioseismology far side viewer, you can actually see this is region 2385 from the last rotation, and it's actually been growing on the sun's far side. You can see it in gold. See that big black dot? That thing continues to grow. That's this region, and it means that it's actually been firing off lots of solar storms and probably big flares on the sun's far side. So we're expecting a lot of activity from it here over the next couple weeks. So amateur radio operators, get ready for some radio blackouts. Now, on top of that, we have just over the last day, whoosh, right there, we had a filament launch. This is a filament that looks like it's going to be a solar storm that goes to the southwest of Earth, so we're not really anticipating much impact from it. It may graze us right around the 20th or 21st, but probably not going to give us all that much to look for. We're going to have to wait until some bigger players rotate into Earth view. In fact, as we take a look at our sun's far side, this is stereo A, and it's looking at the sun just a tiny bit from the side. You can see on the east limb in the south, that is that new region that is rotating into Earth view. And you can see when it launched that big solar flare on the 16th, it also launched a far-sighted solar storm, and that was actually involving other regions on the far side. It's kind of hard to tell, but you can see that big, massive halo. That is a far-sighted halo. Don't worry, it's not Earth-directed, but that means that there are other regions on the far side that are big solar storm producers. Plus, you can see in the north, there's also some brightening here. This is another region that's going to be rotating Earth side. So aurora photographers and amateur radio operators, get ready. The snooze is over. We're definitely going to be seeing more solar flares and more solar storms here over the next 2 weeks. Switching to our moon, we are now passing through the new moon phase on our way to a first quarter, and by the 22nd, the moon will be only about 8% illuminated. So you night sky watchers, if you want to catch those dim objects in the sky, or I don't know, maybe some meteors from the Lyrids or the Aquarids, those showers are still active. Now is your perfect chance. Switching to our solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, we don't have any real Earth-directed solar storms right now, other than that potential grazing passage that could give us something late on the 20th, possibly into the 21st. So at high latitudes, NOAA's expecting unsettled conditions, but we do have up to about a 20% chance of a minor storm somewhere around the 20th to the 21st, and then things will quiet down. So it really doesn't look like there's all that much activity. Now at mid-latitudes, the story's pretty much the same. We're expecting unsettled conditions, but we do have up to about a 10 to 15% chance of active conditions. But things for the most part are pretty quiet. We do have one filament that we're watching that's going through the Earth strike zone right now, and if it launches, it could be an Earth-directed solar storm. But right now, it really looks like we're not going to be seeing any big activity until next week. Switching to our solar flare and dayside radio blackout outlook over the coming week, we are having a quiescent sun for the most part. We've only got one big flare player in Earth view, but more are coming. As such, we are sitting at about the 140s for solar flux right now, but likely that's going to start really ramping up. We could see ourselves in the 170s by the end of next week. Likewise, we are also sitting at minor noise right now on the radio bands, but that will likely ramp up to a moderate noise level as more of these regions rotate into view. We are seeing about a 25% chance from NOAA of the M-class flares. That's at an R1 to R2 level radio blackout. And we even have about a 5% chance of X-class flares at an R3 level radio blackout over the next few days. That again is likely going to continue to ramp up as more of these regions rotate into view. Amateur radio operators on Earth's day side, yes, the noise is going to get worse, and you are going to have to deal with these periodic blackouts easily over this next week and possibly in through next week. And emergency responders, you know, if you're dealing with amateur radio operators and working with them, you're just going to have to understand that this is going to be the way it's going to be on Earth's day side. So hang in there. Hopefully things aren't going to be too bad. Switching to our radiation storm and polar aviation outlook over the coming week. Right now, we are actually in elevated conditions. This was due to a small radiation storm being launched during that near X-class flare back on the 16th. We are sitting at the D2 minor level, but that's also an S0 level right now. We're not at an official radiation storm. It's just elevated, but things are going to be quieting down over the next couple days, and we probably will be back at D1 normal conditions, possibly by the 19th and definitely into the 20th. Luckily, we only have about a 5% chance of an S1 to S2 level radiation storm, but these chances might rise as this week continues and more regions begin to rotate into view. So pilots, please be aware those ICAO advisories are out. So if you want to factor them into your flight plans, they are a good way to keep yourself aware, because these radiation storms do affect the poles and it could cause problems for polar aviation. So the space weather this week is definitely picking up. We don't have any Earth-directed solar storms at the moment, other than a glancing blow from a solar storm that was launched to the west of Earth. Now, it might give us a little bit of something around the 20th to the 21st, but Aurora photographers, it may not even be enough for you to notice. So you're just going to have to wait for about a week when some of these active regions rotating into Earth view right now kind of rotate to a place where they can actually send us Earth-directed solar storms. So just hang in there. Now, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, radio blackouts are on the menu. We do have that one active region that's now rotated into Earth view, and there will be others that follow suit. So expect R2 to possibly R3 level radio blackouts on Earth's day side periodically, and this could last easily over the next couple weeks before things settle down. And expect that noise on the bands to ramp up, because that's going to be an issue. Now, GPS users, well, you're kind of in the same boat. The radio blackouts are definitely an issue for your GPS reception, especially near dawn and near dusk. So take that into consideration when you fly. And if you happen to be a pilot, be sure to check those ICAO advisories, because right now we are in a very small radiation storm, but radiation storms could definitely be an issue. So we have those polar cap issues that occur during that period. And of course, those radio blackouts are not good for comms. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.